Hello, and welcome to the official tutorial video for the frequency tables at the64angels.com. My name is Timothy, and
I'm Laura.
we are so happy to be able to share with you some of the many ways that you can go about utilizing some of these incredible resources that we were inspired to create for all of you. These are resources we ourselves use all day, every day. And the frequency tables in particular are the most used resources that we've ever built.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a daily tool.
Yes. Because it's proven to be so very beautifully beneficial for us, we want to be very explicitly clear about how you can use them too. And because we've immersed ourselves in the application of these tools all day, every day for like a year, we sometimes forget that there are other people in the world who have not been doing that with the tools that we ourselves created and only just publicly released. So our intention today is to share essentially how to navigate the website to the resources we're referring to, how to make use of those resources, and we'll leave it to you to discover exactly how those resources will best adapt themselves to your life and to your application. Our intention is to create a fairly focused and concise tutorial here. There's so much to say about what is yielded as we utilize these resources, and if you follow us, you're going to see that conversation unfold all the time. So in this case, we're focusing kind of on the technical metric of how do we logistically handle this resource.
Yeah, just what are the frequency tables? Where do you find them on the website? How do you use them? And very just kind of brief, sort of step-by-step, instructions, but there's not that much to it, but we realize that if you don't know it's there, then how can you use it? So we want to introduce you to it.
That's right. Speaking of how the frequency tables came to be, the first thing we want you to know is there is a story behind this, and we've told the story. So probably the first thing we share with you when we pull up the website in a moment is going to be how to navigate to that, because in telling the story, you're going to understand the intent behind the tables. You're going to understand what the different options are in the frequency tables, since there are 4 unique separate tables. And you're also going to be able to encounter long form examples of how we've gone about using those tables. So again, we're going to focus primarily on how to use them, but please do take the time to educate yourselves. Every word is worth reading, even if it takes a little while, because it's going to equip you to get creative about your application of them.
Yeah, they're essentially a database of the frequencies, which are the numbers, and words. We have separate tables for animals, mineral allies, and the tarot, but essentially we are just corresponding thousands of words to frequencies, and that's what the tables are.
That's right. Again, I just assume that if you're watching this video, you know what the frequency tables are. We should not make that assumption. Frequencies are life's method of communication. Everything in life vibrates, and we can begin to get a sense for which sort of things vibrate together or hum along at the same basic level of expression or frequency. And that's essentially what we've done. We've used mystical numerology to kind of decode the vibratory signature inherent to tens of thousands of words. It's been a very, very long process doing all of this manually ourselves, but a very rewarding one as well, because when we can identify that signature, which is contained symbolically in a number or a frequency, we can begin to sense out, literally look at on a spreadsheet, which words, which phrases, which concepts, which ideas, which themes connect, themes connect to which other words, phrases, concepts, ideas, themes. So we're going to show you how this works, and in order to do that, we're going to share the screen. The screen is to my right, so I'm going to be focusing there on occasion, but we really do want you to know we're speaking to you and we're excited about this conversation. So let's begin by sharing the screen. Okay, home base is the64angels.com. When you land on the 64angels.com, this is what you're going to see. In order to learn about frequencies, we invite you to navigate to the About section up here in the header, hover over the word About, and you'll see a bunch of options, all of which deserve your time and attention, frankly. But in this case, we're looking for the word frequencies. You scroll down to frequencies. When it turns blue, click on that guy. This is a big, beautiful, action-packed, valuable page. Take your time with it, return to it. Gobbling all of this up in one sitting might be a bit of a challenge, but it's all worth investigating. You can see that you will learn about what the frequencies are. We'll introduce them. We'll show you how to read them. We'll show you how to use them. We'll provide examples. We'll explicitly state our intention for building this, and we'll invite you to elevate your experience of life through your application of these exact same frequencies.
Yeah, I think one of the most fun and thought-provoking, exciting ways to use the frequency tables is to discover your personal frequencies, so that when you encounter the tables, you can be, taking all of the numbers and words and just different things that you find personally.
So yes, that's huge, and leans into some of these other experiences that we've produced in the time since meeting the frequencies. Very briefly, we can tell you that the frequency portal is kind of home base for that. If you wish to discover your own personal frequencies and connect them to the sort of things we'll show you today, you're looking for the frequency portal. Briefly, we can show you how to get to that, and then we're going to jump back into this conversation. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you go to the Goods tab at the top of your navigation, or if you're on a cell phone, you can get there by clicking the two lines at the top of your cell phone. Scroll down to Shop or Offerings. Either one of them will get you where you need to be. If you go to Shop, you can scroll down here to Frequency Portal. Currently, as the Shop page exists now at the time of this recording, you're looking for Frequency Portal, Signature. This is an, again, currently 18-page PDF booklet that we produced for you that delivers 6 of your most fundamental and most powerful personal frequencies. But let's jump back to the beginning here. Let's come back to homepage, okay, the 64angels.com. You now know that you can learn about the frequencies by hovering over About and choosing frequencies. But how do you get to the tables themselves? We're back to Goods in order to pull this off. If you hover over the word Goods and then scroll down until you've highlighted the words, the tables, that's going to take you where you belong. Frequency tables, a resource for frequency pairing. There are 4 frequency tables: the words table, the tarot table, the stones table, and the animals table. Pretty self-explanatory what you're going to find in each. In the words table, you'll find words and their corresponding frequencies. In the tarot table, you will find every one of the 86 tarot members. We say 86 because in our tarot, the Liberated Tarot, there are 86 members. You'll find every one of those correlated to a frequency. In the stones table, you're going to find hundreds of stones, basically every stone we could find. Stone, crystal,
mineral.
Yeah, all connected to a frequency. And same with the animals, hundreds of animals and more being added, and the correlating frequency that they resonate at. So we're going to introduce you to a couple of these. Our favorite, and the one that we continue to use most prolifically, is the words table. So we're going to click on this. Notice that when you click on words table, it opens in a new tab. We do this on purpose because oftentimes we find ourselves using multiple tables at a time. It's helpful to have multiple tabs open in this case so you can toggle back and forth as you're working with the frequencies. We'll provide an example of this for you in a moment. But for now, we meet the words table. You'll notice as you scroll down that the symbols we met on the page before over here are presented once again at the top of the page. This is so that you can access from any given one table any of the other 3 tables. So for example, we're on the words table. If we wanted to open the animals table, bam, you can simply click on that and it opens in a separate tab. Now you have both tables open on your screen. Okay, this is going to happen for you on your cell phone and on your computer. Mm-hmm. Anything you'd like to add? Have we missed anything?
No, not yet. I'm excited to talk to them about where we're at currently as far as how many entries we have in the words table, because it's by far our largest collection.
All right, why don't we do that? Let's look at the words table. This is our home base always. This is the one table that we refer to when I say all day, every day, I mean literally like dozens of times a day. We're just in and out of these all the time because it's so fundamental to everything we do. And it's really our way of decoding life's messages, which are always being delivered to us. We have a lot of fun here. So,
and it's always growing. We're continually adding more entries.
Basically daily. Yeah. And that's been ongoing now for a year. I mean, well, longer than that, frankly, because I had a lot going on. So, okay, at this point, if you scroll down, you'll find the table itself. We call our spreadsheets tables. That's because if we called them spreadsheets, everyone would know we were nerds.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So we rebranded it to tables because that's way cooler, right? You scroll down on the words table page and you find the spreadsheet that contains the information we're after here. Now, Laura, you can share, as you wished to, about how many entries we have in this spreadsheet at this current time.
Yeah, so as of the time of making this video, which is October of 2024, we have closing on maybe 12,000 entries into the words table. And these consist of anywhere from single words all the way up to multiple sentence phrases that are captured. The words are typically lower in frequency, which is like single digit numbers. And then the higher frequency is bigger numbers. So
we can show you an example of what that looks like. Because the letters are what essentially lead us to a numerological frequency, the more letters, the larger the frequency.
Yeah.
That's not perfectly the case, but tends to be the case. So, a smaller word is going to potentially be at a smaller frequency or a lower number than a larger word or a sentence or a paragraph. So as an example of this, we can use the day signature of today.
Yeah.
Today's day signature is a 36. So if you come over here to your search bar and you simply type in the number 36, you're going to receive a list of all the words and phrases that resonate to the frequency of 36. And you can simply scroll through these and find a bunch of really interesting words. Again, the way that we would derive value from this is a separate conversation. It's very clearly written out in the frequencies page that we introduced you to at the beginning of this, but it's also something we're going to continue to talk about all the time.
And I also want to point out that currently the number frequency goes up to almost 1,000. So you have anywhere from 1 to close to 1,000.
We do have some that are over 1,000 now.
We do have some entries that are over 1,000. And you can imagine as you get higher, those are going to be longer entries.
So we can share an example
Sure,
of that as well.
Let's share an example of a higher frequency, and you'll see that it contains more information.
Today's day signature is a 36. The amplified expression of that frequency is a 360.
Yes.
Real easy. So we take the 36 that we've added, the 36, and we add a 0. Now you're looking at phrases that resonate at the frequency of 360. It's a higher frequency. It's a larger number, and so you can see it contains more information. Right? This works with numbers, but it also works with words. So let's say you want to know what the frequency of the word earth is. You can simply plug that in, and you're going to receive every single entry that utilizes the word earth in any way. And you can now correspond that word to its frequency and its frequency in many different contexts. There will come certain times where perhaps you plug in a word or even potentially a higher number and it pulls up no entries. What we want you to know is that because we're continually adding to this particular table, you will want to check back. Check back in a week, check back in a month, and you're going to find that some of those gaps are being filled very naturally as a result of our work on the back end. Okay, this is a growing, living entity. When we started, there were hundreds of entries, and in the time since, obviously, we've expanded to nearly 12,000. It's a really, really big leap, and it's going to continue to grow. So this is the words table. We've described what the other tables would hold, but we can give you a peek at each as well. Let's begin with the animals table. This is the first one we opened. We can scroll down and you can see that you've got a bunch of animals expressing certain frequency values. We're going to use an example here in a moment, but before we do, we'll simply show you the other tables. We have the tarot table. The tarot table has the entire tarot sequence listed out, and you can search anything you wish for in here. Let's say you want to look for the Six of Swords. You can literally type in the word six and immediately pull it up. You can see that the Six of Swords in this case corresponds to the frequency of the number 34. And you can even see which of the 64 angels that particular frequency and card connect to. So this is a really useful tool if you're trying to draw some of these connections. In the case of the tarot, let's say that you were looking for the Six of Swords. Be aware that you can now follow this to its place elsewhere on the website. So the tarot is represented on the website here under the word codex. Anytime you're working with the tarot, anytime you find something in the tarot table that feels like it's guiding you, you want to go and find that in the codex. The crystalline codex introduces you to our liberated tarot. And so you now know you're working with the Six of Swords and the frequency of 34. You can simply scroll down until you find one of those. You can either look for the number 34, or you can look for the Six of Swords, and in either case, you'll find your way to that card. When you click on that card, you've got all sorts of information waiting for you. Information we're not going to use this video to go into, but you've got all of these words and all of these drop downs that are going to invite you to discover more. This is a really, really powerful way to utilize the tarot table in particular. Okay? I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to close out the tarot table, and I'm going to show you the stones table next. Same story here. Every stone you can possibly think of is going to be here, ready and waiting. If you want to know the frequency of the word gold, type it in and you'll find it. Here's all the different ways that the word gold is used. And of course, we can see here that the frequency of gold is 17. Maybe you want to know what the frequency of the word pearl is. You've got it. It's a 35. Okay, this is how that works. Where we find this, anything you would
I would also suggest trying to add the number so that you can see what stones resonate to this particular number.
That's
Say
great.
You have a number that you just keep seeing around.
36, today's day signature. Plug it in. This is great though, it's true. You're driving along and you see a number on a license plate. That kind of thing may or may not be arbitrary. Well, let's put it this way. It's arbitrary until you allow it to mean something. The moment you allow it to mean something, you have a resource here in these tables that can begin to decode its meaning. You can receive explicit messages based on that. In this case, you would find that 36 that you randomly saw on a license plate or heard us talking about as a day signature is leading you to learn more about perhaps the emerald or lapis. This is a really fun way to use the table. Good thinking. I'd love to give an example of how we can cross-reference between tables and how we would do this. The other day we heard a crow. And it was a little inconvenient because Laura was trying to record an audio message, but Crow decided this was the time to show up and sing outside our window. And we all know that Crow's singing is not the prettiest sometimes. So he was clearly trying to get our attention. So we look up the word crow, and we find that crow is the frequency of 34. Another example would be hearing from a friend just the other night that she had seen a skunk. Oh no, she saw a skunk and she was afraid it was going to spray her. We see here that the frequency of skunk is 42. Now what Laura and I would do is we would take this frequency and we would get curious about it. We'd say, okay, well, we know that skunk is a 42, but what are the words and messages that 42 has for us? So we would then toggle back to our words table and we'd find out. We'd plug in the number 42 and we would say, wow,
Wow.
that skunk, which we initially were afraid of, was actually speaking to us on the subject of what? Abundance and belonging and celebration and brightness.
And building and challenge and just...
Look at this.
It's a very long list, as you can see.
It just goes on and on.
It's up to you to sort of swim in it and extract the value from it.
That's right. In the case where you see a frequency like a 42, you're always invited to add a 0 to it. Adding a 0 to any frequency is like bringing the divine energy into it. It's like bringing a protective casing around that and amplifying its expression. So this is why we speak in terms of amplified frequencies. And now in this case, you would find that skunk actually has something to say, not just words to offer, but actual messages to share. For example, If what you know is rooted in absolute truth, love produces the absolute truth. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's what Skunk might have been trying to tell our friend, for example, the other night. Mm-hmm. And these resources give us an opportunity, once again, to decode the message. I'm going to pause the screen share here for a moment because we've shown you everything we technically need to. But this is our opportunity to say simply that while we've produced this mechanism, this tool that allows you to decode the message, it's up to every one of you, every one of us, to become open to receiving those messages, to know that a skunk crossing the street may not just be a random event. It might be an opportunity to go investigate, to open ourselves to a beautiful message. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the concluding kind of mic drop moment that I would hope for anyone watching this to receive. I'd like you to know that in these tables, without exception, any message you receive will be good. Yeah. That skunk crossing the street is never going to lead you to find some ominous message. There are no bad signs. What makes the frequency table so powerful, and in particular the words table, what makes the words table so powerful is that every single word has been scrubbed of fear, smallness, limitation, lack. They do not exist. The words that bring up that feeling in you, you will not find on these tables. Nearly 12,000 entries. Every last one of them is clean. Every last one of them is uplifting. Every last one of them will encourage and inspire and empower. And empower, yes. It'll point you right back to the core of yourself and you'll feel it. Mm-hmm. You will feel it. So swim in this ocean knowing that if some water gets in your eyes or your mouth, it will not burn. It will taste good. And you absolutely deserve to enjoy that ride. We hope this has been a helpful tutorial. Obviously, there's a lot more we could talk about, but I think we've kind of covered the basics. Mm-hmm. Anything I've forgotten, babe?
I don't think so.
Then we did it. This is great. Thank you for joining us. Have fun.